Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial. This is the first part of this series, and I assume you know something about Unity. For example, you know how to install it, you know how to make game objects, and know what project tab is. So I'm not just going through everything, but this is beginner to intermediate level of tutorial. So let's start. For this project, first I'm just going to make some folders that we are going probably to use. For example, audios. Create folder for prefabs, and probably for scripts and sprites. If we are going to use another things, we are going to add them later, but I just want to organize my project in the earliest stage. So for the scene, we are going to create our background, and I'm just going to use sprites and a square. I just position it in the center. You can make it bigger by just changing the scale, but I do not like it. Why? Because if you change the sprite to something like this, for example, if you have texture for your sprite, if you use the scale, it just distort everything, just stretch everything. But if you use, for example, draw mode and tiled, and you make everything bigger, you see it copy the patterns. So we are going just to use the square for the background, and I'm just going to change the size to 64 to 64. Everything should be good. Now for sorting layer, I'm just going to have two sorting layer right now, background objects. Why? The sorting layer is like the order of the game object that you are going to see in the scene. For example, if I have two game object, for example, another square with color black, and if they are in the same layer, they are both in default. If the order of the new square is, for example, -1, -2, you cannot see it because it is in the back of the first square that we had. But if we change the sorting layer of the second square to another layer that is above our first layer, for example, background or objects, no matter what we put here, for example, -99999, it is still on the front of the first square that we had. So for background that we had, I'm just going to use background layer and call it background. If you don't have any sorting layer here, it's because you didn't add them. You can add them here, and you can change the order by this and dragging. For the arrow, I'm just going to use a triangle for the head of it. I'm calling it head, and use object as sorting layer. The color, I'm just going to use 042 by 42. It's the choice, you can choose whatever you want. Position it in the center. For the body, I'm going to use a line renderer, so I'm going to create empty game object and call it body, and add line renderer to it with this. Okay, we cannot see line render if we do not change the setting of it. For example, we cannot see it because the sorting layer is default. We are going to change it to objects. Still we cannot see it because the color. I'm going to change the color. This is gradient color, so you should change the color to like this, or if you had it from the past, you can change it like this. And still we cannot see it. That's funny, because we cannot see it because the material is not there. I'm just going to use normal material sprite default. And last but not least, I don't know why, but Unity, even in 2D project, when you add line renderer, it generates a line with 2 points, and the difference is in the Z values. And in the Z values, it is for 3D game objects. For example, here you can see the line right now. So for 2D, you should change this, for example, to -2, and you easily can see your line. But the width is too big, so we are going to change that to 0.35, and it is beautiful. And while we are using line renderer, we can use, for example, another square, and we can stretch it or other things, because with line renderer you can add another position to it. For example, if we have 3 point or 5 point, for example, we are going for 4, we can add another line to it. For example, if I change the X value to 2 and another Y value to 2, you can see how we have a perfect arrow for this project. For just bending this line that you have in the 90-degree angle, there is a simple rule for it. You cannot change the axis that changed in the last 2 index before. For example, in the 0 and 1, the index that changed was Y axis, and we are going to change it for the X axis. But for example, if I just change the Y axis and the X axis are the same, for example, I'm just going to delete the last one. You can see nothing is going to change that much. Okay, the shape is good, but I like a little bit curviness, so I'm just going to add corners to this 5. The last one is for the end of your lines, and I think it's good, but it has problems. For example, what is the problem number 1? If I just duplicate this and move it, you can just see the head is moving. Why? Because the line renderer is draw based on the word space position. So if I change that to do not use word space position, if I duplicate that, you can see it comes with our object. Okay, now I'm just going to use a parent for both of these and call it arrow and make a prefab out of it. If you do not know what prefab is, it is a type of game object that you can reuse with the same settings. For example, if I just have a prefab here and I delete this one, I can just summon another one, and they all use the same settings. The only difference is position right now. You can change them without harming anything. For example, here I can change the color head, you can see easily, or you can change the settings for all of them. For example, here I'm just going to click on the prefab that we have and change the head color, for example, to red, and both of these change happens. Or we can change one of these, for example, the head of this, and if I come here and override the settings that we have in this object on our prefab, it changes every prefab that we have. You can see it easily right there. Or sometimes we are just going to have object, for example here, I just want this one to be immune from the change that we have in our prefab. I can come here and go right click on it, go prefab and unpack this. And now if I change the color of the head of this one, for example, to this red, save it. If I come back, this one didn't change. Okay, that's enough for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. I'm going to see you in the next chapter.